There is something really about the human ego, right? You talk about this, about the scientific enterprise as well as a barrier to knowledge, right? Because the ego stops the human mind from expanding after a certain level. And if you are looking at an intelligent species, it will be at the least intelligent enough to look past its ego.
Right. So, yeah, in fact, we keep focusing our attention on what happened on the surface of this planet, the Earth, which is just a relic, a rock that was left over from the construction of the sun. Okay, so there was some material left over in a disk, and out of that came the Earth. And we keep obsessing with this real estate that we find on this rock, and we are willing to kill each other for territories. There are currently 2 wars going on related to territorial disputes. And if you think about it, it's very narrow-minded, because there is much more real estate in outer space. And what is a sign of intelligence? A sign of intelligence is recognizing, your limited point of view. If you are looking at the global picture, you have new aspirations. Because you realize that everything you cared about before is actually a small part of a bigger picture, and you better focus on that, on the bigger picture, because there are many catastrophes that can happen on Earth, and we are all in the same boat, the Earth, sailing through space. And if we keep fighting with each other, we might not survive for very much longer. If we, on the other hand, cooperate and use the tools of science, we could figure out a better future. That's the way I think about it. Now, I'm not naive, and I don't think people will start singing John Lennon's words, imagine all the people living in peace, just because they are idealistic. I don't think this would happen. It's in human nature to fight for resources. We came from the jungle, from Africa, and we were looking for some limited resources, and of course someone's benefit is other person's loss if you have limited resources. So that led to zero-sum games, and our brain is pretty much hardwired to fight zero-sum games. But my point is, science is an infinite sum game, because if we realize new knowledge, everyone benefits. And science encourages us to work together. So how do I see a better future? As I said, I'm not naive, and I don't think our politicians are good role models. But I do think that that we can go through shock therapy, meaning if we discover that another civilization near another star is behaving has accomplished much more than we did, it's sort of like meeting a student in the class that is doing far better. And you realize that by imitating that student, you can do better. And so that's like shock therapy. And of course, it will be a blow to our ego. As you pointed out, the ego is not a good place for us to attach to, because it often limits us as to appreciating that we are not at the center of stage. And both my daughters, when they were young, they thought the world centers on them. And the shock was when they went on the first day to the kindergarten. And we need to go through that shock when we would realize that there are other kids out there, and we are not the smartest kid on the block, on the cosmic block in this case.
And like when we look at politicians, and when you said that we came from the jungle, we are essentially some advanced apes, and and apes have the mentality. So when you study chimpanzees, they have the innate instinct in them to form territories and to form alphas in their species, and they fight within each other. So if you think in that sense, countries are really advanced territories of chimps, and we've not even thought enough to think past that. And when you
But if you look at the tools of science that were advanced mostly over the last century, so forget about the before that. Look at where we are. The two of us are communicating, I assume, between different continents and speaking to each other. That's amazing. So what I say very often is, Moses in the Old Testament, the Bible, was very impressed by a bush that was burning without being consumed. So much so that he decided to believe in a superhuman entity that made this bush as a miracle. So he believed in God. And that's the story. And today you could have impressed Moses much more by showing Moses a cell phone or, anything that we are using routinely. He would think that is even a greater miracle compared to a burning bush. I mean, what's the problem? It's very easy to make a burning bush that is powered by electricity, and he would be shocked by that. So the point is, today we are able to impress people like Moses as if we are God, as we represent miracles. And this was brought about, by science and technology. So my point is, we have one method that we developed most recently, and it's really precious, and it's not appreciated enough. And it's the method of science. Now, I'm not claiming that scientists should be celebrated. Some people have the wrong idea that scientists should be regarded as celebrities. So the way you admire movie actors or singers, there should be Taylor Swift among scientists, like Einstein should be admired just like Taylor Swift. I don't think that is what we need to focus on, because these scientists are practitioners. It's really the scientific method that we should celebrate, and anyone can use it. You can use it in your daily life, because the idea of the scientific method is that it's guided by data, by evidence. So in your daily life, you collect data all the time. And if you use the scientific method, you will do much better than if you use emotions or things that are not really associated with analysis of evidence or data, because very often we are misleading ourselves. We have wishful thinking, or we prefer not to know things that we don't want to know. And what I'm saying is that science is bringing us to a better place as a culture, in humanity as a whole. And it's really a new tool that we should appreciate and use as much as we can in order to have a better future.
Yeah, I remember reading somewhere any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Oh yeah, well, I say that if someone understands quantum gravity, someone out there in interstellar space knows how the Big Bang happened, and knows has a recipe for creating a baby universe, because if you know what ingredients you need to put together in order to create the universe in the Big Bang, then you have the recipe book for doing that. You just need to create in the laboratory those conditions, the way you bake a cake if you have a recipe book for a cake. And then you can apply for the job description of God. Because if you look at what are the requirements for God, it's creating a universe. If you can create a universe, go for it. You can become God. And if you can create life in the laboratory, that's a good early stage, even without creating a universe. And we are on our way to creating life in the laboratory. I wouldn't be surprised if within a century we'll have, life, synthetic life that we created, existing here on Earth. This is on top of the AI, the artificial intelligence that is our technological kid that would imitate the human brain in different ways.